Joining us again on Chicken Dinner from Right Angle Sports, Adam Chernoff. You check that record right there, 6-4, 60%. The climb back is real, and we'll get to your best bet at the end of this. We are literally almost halfway through the season now, and you have some teams that are either banged up or ready to wave the white flag. How tough does that make the week-to-week handicapping? Already in week 7, we're talking about teams that may have quit.
Yeah, it's hard. This week specifically, I think is getting really tricky because we have probably more teams than usual in this has the bottom fallen out portion of it, or is there still room to go down further in the basement? And what's making it tough is I think in almost all of these games this week, for example, Cincinnati, Cleveland, looking at Las Vegas, LA, Carolina, Washington, there's even Tennessee, Buffalo to an extent. The prices are getting pretty big against some of these teams. But the problem is there's obviously the sharp mentality. You take the number and you just forget about everything else. But it's a weird spot where some of these teams are having not recent year bad quarterback play, like with Levis, with Watson, with whatever's going on in Las Vegas. Levis and Watson specifically are like 25-year historically bad performances so far to date this season. We've seen numbers in recent years get into the 15, 18, 21-point range when there's a massive discrepancy. And so even this year with how tight scoring is, we're still only looking at like 6 to 9 points in some of these games. And so I'm finding it really hard to balance, trying to figure out just how bad some of these teams are versus just blindly backing a number when there still might be a lot of room to fall, even though taking the points in some of these games historically would be a decent spot to make. And so it's a really tough kind of spot here with a handful of games that we're getting week to week.
I'm trying so hard to stay away from Tennessee, but if it gets to 10, I will have to have a long conversation with myself about that game.
Well, but it could be a lot more than 10, justifiably. I mean, we saw Buffalo close 7 against Arizona in week 1. We saw them close 4.5 against Jacksonville. It covered both of those numbers. Tennessee, I mean, if you're getting that level of play from Will Levis and he's on the road against a good Bills defense, I could argue it could be more than 10. But again, it's how do you not take the points in that? It's a really hard kind of handicapping spot with a lot of these teams.
Let's go down to this game, 471, 472, Kansas City, San Francisco. I know you're probably not going to play this game because you don't play every game. You've learned your lesson over the years. This is a very interesting spot. You have revenge on the mind of people betting San Francisco. You also have Mahomes as a dog. I'm sure the books will need San Fran to actually win this game. A lot of these bet splits are Kansas City, 75% of the action. Where do you stand on KC and San Fran in week 7?
I'll be honest. Sunday night, I was pretty confident that we would be acting on Kansas City, whether it's through betting, whether it's through a release. And there were counterpoints presented in a lot of our calls to why San Francisco looks like an appealing side in this game that kind of negated all of it. So it's been almost a complete stay away from us. And we've kind of just stopped talking about the game because we have counterpoints on both sides. If I just look at the matchup side, Shanahan has never beat Reed. There's all of the talk about the out of the bye and the extra time to prepare and everything that comes with that. But I think what's more important is the Kansas City run defense this whole season has been way better than it has been in any season past. And the way that they're playing presents a much different challenge and a much different look for the 49ers and how their offense runs than what we've seen in these matchups in the year past. And this is a 49ers team that tried to poach Spags in the offseason. They tried to poach the Chiefs defensive backs coach, in the offseason. So now there's kind of an internal rivalry between the coaching staffs that goes beyond just the Super Bowl losses and the history between the two teams. And it honestly, matchup-wise on the field, I think it leans very heavily towards Kansas City. But as we got talking about it, just spot-wise and what we're looking at from the numbers, you kind of have to look towards San Francisco. So it's just a complete stalemate on both sides. It's a stay away. Nothing to take away from this. It's going to be a very fun game to watch, but not a fun game to bet.
10 picks on this show that you do with us every week. 6 winners, 6-4, 60%. Let's go to your pick this week. 461 Miami at 462 Indianapolis. No Joe Flacco, it's sounding like, for the Colts.
No, all signs point to Richardson returning for this game. Doesn't sound like Taylor will be back. All of the receivers that were supposed to go on IR last week but didn't and played in full, they're all going to be back too. So it's a full slate for Indianapolis. But to me, this number has just got to a pretty crazy point here with the Colts at 3 and even shaded slightly higher than that. We saw both of these two teams play Tennessee in the last 2 weeks, and that point spread would have justified this game being a lot closer to a pick 'em. Dolphins coming out of the bye. Tyler Huntley is being spoken about as taking the next leap in the offense. Devon Achane is back for the Dolphins in this game. So now they have a trio of running backs to attack this Colts defense, which is allowing a ton of yardage on the ground and a ton of yardage to anybody not named Will Levis so far this season. So I think this is a spot out of the bye for Miami that sets up really well at a bit of an inflated number for the Colts. I think Miami moves the ball well on offense, and this is a spot where they cover the number. And so I'll go with the Dolphins here as a dog +3 on the road at Indy.
Let's get to 7-4, buddy.
It's the way up. It's a swing week because you get a bit of a cushion. All of a sudden, you're breathing easy. It was a week 1 and 2, a little bit tighter here, but we've turned it around. So 7-4 would be great.
That's Adam Chernoff, Right Angle Sports. Thank you, sir.